So we were just discussing, what were you listening to on your way here?
I just got Sirius XM on the
Yes.
car, so I was listening to like Octane, like rock music. I have like a Soul Cycle
Was
channel.
there a little bit of Lil Wayne in there at
Yes,
all? Or,
actually,
like,
got some Buster
Your
Rhymes.
Oh, I
Your
love
anxious playlist.
that.
Yeah, it was great. A
I'm
little bit of
so like
everything.
that. I roll up to my 9 to 5 job, and sometimes I have to remember that I'm rolling up to a school and
Yeah,
at my house.
be a little
Anyways.
cautious. It's funny because I just got a sticker on the back of my car that I made, and it's a middle finger. so if
I feel like we should all have one of those.
right, so if I pass somebody and I like have my music going, and then they kind of look at me in the mirror and like, okay,
I want one of
she's
those
bad
bumper
news.
stickers I just saw on Instagram, and it said, please let me merge in before I start crying.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Let me in.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, I am very, very happy to
Announce.
introduce our guests for episode 8 of the Gwen Effect podcast. This is Courtney. Like I said prior to, we kind of connected, I think, shortly after Gwendolyn's passing. We're part of the NICU group here in Kingston for the preemies. And I kind of made a post just talking about Gwendolyn's circumstance, and then we had connected over Instagram because you have a medical page as well.
I do, and I actually thought it was kind of weird in a sense that I
Yes.
guess we connected on the NICU page because Olivia wasn't a preemie.
Okay.
But I was kind of like told to join this group to connect
Yes.
with the nurses once we had left the NICU.
Absolutely.
And then I joined it and then saw your post.
Well, and all the medical mamas, it's so nice to have, right, to
Yeah.
connect with. So,
Yeah.
so
I guess
your daughters weren't in the hospital together.
No.
They weren't together.
No.
And you were also a recipient of a box of sunshine.
I was.
yeah, she was the OG, one of them.
That's
one of the
amazing.
first like batches of boxes.
Yay.
Yeah, it was great.
Good home candle in there, I think.
Yes, yeah, there was.
Yep. Smells very nice.
So like I was saying, yeah, we'll get right to it, Courtney. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and I guess what led into this pregnancy with your sweet babes, Olivia?
So oh gosh, I don't even know where
okay.
to start.
Take
It's always
your
it's like
time.
that
How old is
question.
Olivia?
Olivia just turned 1. She turned 1
Oh,
in May.
okay, so she's like
fresh.
baby
So
still.
she's like she's still a little babe.
Yeah.
We found out we were pregnant with her. My husband actually, Victor, he told me to take a test.
Okay.
Around our 4-year wedding anniversary. 3-year. So long ago now.
Yeah.
But he's like, you're having heartburn. You're miserable.
Hilarious.
Like, this is the same thing that happened when we were pregnant with our oldest. So he's like, take a test. You might be, you don't know. And I wasn't like having any other symptoms other than heartburn.
Right.
And that was just like normal.
worst.
Which
for
is
me.
early, kind of, isn't it? Like, isn't heartburn early?
I like suffer from really bad heartburn to begin with. So I think I just kind of brushed it off.
I had it at the
Okay.
end.
Yeah.
So how old's your other daughter right now?
She's 3.5.
Okay, and were you guys expecting to have another one?
Yes, but not so soon.
Mine are
Pleasant
13 months
surprise.
apart, so
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we weren't being safe
No.
at all.
What?
Yeah.
But
Totally.
That's
I
great,
wasn't
though.
expecting it.
Yeah.
But we were so happy that it happened.
So you're surprised with your pregnancy
Yeah.
test was positive.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I was at home by myself because Amelia, our oldest, was in daycare. And I took the test and I'm like, oh. I just cried in the bathroom,
Aw.
like happy tears, obviously.
Of course.
And then I ran to Walmart and picked up like a big sister book to
I
give
love
to
that.
that.
So sweet.
Yeah.
That's so
and
sweet.
put the pregnancy test in a bag and gave it to Vic when he got home.
And what was his reaction?
He cried.
Oh,
I think.
good.
Maybe.
I love
Don't
that.
quote me on that.
See, Joe?
Joe too.
Oh, really? He cried too? Oh, I was going to say, I was pleasantly surprised by that.
He's not a crier.
How was your pregnancy?
It was fine.
Besides the heartburn.
besides
Very
the
similar to
heartburn.
the first one, would you say?
In stages.
Okay.
So Olivia was sideways in my belly the entire time.
Wow.
I have hair tickling my chin. She was sideways in my belly. So, like, I use the midwife service in Belleville,
Yes.
which is amazing.
Yes.
Like, I would recommend them to
Our
anybody.
friend actually just had a baby.
We
and she
hear
was
that
with the midwives
often,
in Belleville.
Yeah.
I've
They're
only heard
incredible.
good things about midwife. The only thing though that I have heard that she didn't realize is that they take shifts. So if you're in labor,
Yeah.
they'll shift change.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that.
Oh, wow.
Or if like they're at another birth with another parent.
Right.
Then
Like,
you get-
But it's
you
the
get-
same thing as like your OB too. Like my OB
Which makes
didn't
sense.
deliver either of my kids.
Yeah. And then with Olivia, I had to have an emergency C-section. So I didn't even get my OB or my midwife to deliver her.
Why did you have to have an emergency C-section? Because she was sideways?
So she was sideways like the entire duration. And I went in to get induced. And the induction didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So her heart rate was elevated and
Right.
they couldn't even like stimulate her.
Oh, so that's scary.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, emergency C-section. They switched me over to an OB. And she was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I adore her. She's a wonderful woman.
And this was all in Belleville?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you have the C-section, which is scary to begin with.
Yeah.
Especially with another child at home.
unplanned.
Yeah, and with Amelia's delivery was all natural. Like I had a shot of morphine in my leg, and that was about it.
How's it?
So to go from that to a C-section, I was
Totally different.
Yeah,
And you were preparing for kind of hoping for an all-natural birth as well. Even if she was sideways, they could still...
yeah. I think near the end of my pregnancy, she was able to turn and like move down.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But she, like, you know, they tell you to like monitor the kicks and the movements,
Yes.
and everything was still normal, but she wasn't like going down all the way.
Okay.
Which was totally opposite to my other pregnancy.
Yeah.
So
They're all different.
I know it's
Minds
crazy.
of their own.
Yeah.
Even their personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after you have the C-section, can you tell us kind of what happened?
What did that look like?
What happened after that? Yeah, like what?
So we had the C-section. I say we. I had a C-section.
Team effort.
me.
Yeah. Vic was hanging out
You
in the
didn't get
back.
pregnant on your own.
It was me.
Yeah. She came out, wasn't crying, which I guess is normal because during like a normal delivery, the lungs get squeezed and air. I don't know the proper terminology, but I guess
Which makes sense. Yeah,
during a
absolutely.
C-section, they may still have fluid in them.
Yes.
So she didn't cry out, but they're like, it's normal, it's okay.
Yeah.
They let us hold her. Everything was good. They stitched me back up. I was laughing during like most of the procedure.
Was that because of the medicine, like the pain meds?
I think so. And maybe just because I was so
Like
nervous.
nerves.
Well, yeah, you're in shock. So
Yeah.
you're like, well, I might as well just laugh because like this is
Laugh
what's
or
gonna
cry.
happen. Yeah, absolutely.
Probably both.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then they brought us over to the recovery room.
Yes.
And she wasn't like latching. We were trying to feed her. I breastfed with Amelia. I was expecting to do the same.
Again, all the same kind of norms.
And she just wasn't doing it. And they're like, well, she's probably tired. It's
Yeah.
a big procedure you both just went through.
Because it's not an abnormal thing for them not to latch at first.
Yeah.
And like you said, you just went through a big procedure.
Luke
Yeah.
never latched. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't get. He had a lip tie.
Oh, that would, yeah.
So there's something else you would think of. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. We're just hanging out in the room. She's swaddled up. Victor's holding her. I'm holding her. She just looks really tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we noticed that she was like shivering a little bit.
Okay.
And the nurses, everyone did their checks. They're like, her vitals are good. She's breathing okay. Like everything's good.
Yep.
And her temperature was fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything in that first like hour or two seemed fine.
Yeah.
And then the shift change happened. We got a new round of nurses in, and we expressed to her like we felt her shaking. And she's like, well, let me take a look. And she unswaddled her and did some more tests. And she's like, just kind of looks at us and looks back. She's like, I'm going to go get the pediatrician on call.
I hate
And
that. Yeah.
so we're like, okay, like what's going on?
And then you don't know what's going on. Yeah.
So he comes in, looks at her, tries to do some assessment where he like lifts her, and she's just kind of.
Would that be like for reflexes and
I think
stuff?
so.
Okay.
Yeah. And he said that things don't look great. I'm gonna take her back to like the nursery and just do some more tests. And so
But you didn't know at that point.
No.
He's like,
So
nothing.
what
It
was
doesn't
going
look
through
good.
your mind when they said, okay, we're going to now remove her from you. We're going to run some tests. Did you go with her or?
I couldn't.
Of course not, because you had a C-section.
Yeah,
Yes.
but Victor did.
Okay. Your husband. Yeah.
And I think it like changed his world completely
Of
because
course.
that's when she first started having seizures.
Okay.
Yeah. The shaking that we were feeling was her having seizures in her
Right.
hands.
Okay.
And
Take your time.
yeah, she actually went and almost coded
Yeah.
a couple of times.
As like the day that she was born,
Yeah.
taken into the nursery.
Yeah, like within hours of her being born. She was born at 7 o'clock in the morning, and by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock that night, we were transferred to Kingston.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got transferred in my own little ambulance because I just had abdominal
Absolutely.
surgery.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And she was transferred during another ambulance with like a sick kids team, I guess.
Yeah.
They were
Right.
able to bring them down from Toronto
Wow.
and then load up an ambulance and get it ready for her because they weren't sure how the drive was going to be.
So they took her, was it via, ambulance on the ground or
Yeah.
by flight? Okay.
On the ground, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was all whirlwind.
Yeah.
Victor saw all of that. By the time they finally got her stable enough, they wheeled me in to go see her, and during that she was having more seizures. And
What a scary thing as a parent to
very,
go through
and
and to
especially because
witness.
we had no idea.
Yeah.
What was
it was a
going on?
pretty typical pregnancy, so to witness all of that within a short period of time so soon after giving birth, it was
Yeah. Shocking.
You're probably
Yeah.
still digesting it too.
yeah, 100%.
There's probably still times, and I know with Gwendolyn when she had procedures and stuff, even now it still takes my breath away thinking of them working on her and hovering her. Like it's quite literally a clip from Grey's Anatomy. Like it's so real. Like it's like, wow, all of these people are with my little one, and it's just
like out of body.
out of body
Really.
experience,
Yeah.
and you immediately dissociate yourself out of that room, but you're still mentally there.
Yeah.
And wow,
yeah, it was
that's a lot to handle.
Yeah.
So so you're transferred to Kingston. You're admitted
You're
into
recovering.
the
Yeah.
NICU. What happens next? Like, do they know why she's having all these seizures? Do they
Nothing.
know today why they have why she had these seizures? Is it something?
I think she was diagnosed with 2 different things.
Okay.
Well, she has had multiple diagnoses afterwards.
Absolutely.
But in the first 24 to 48 hours, she was having probably 4 to 5 seizures every single night.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. She would have a lot of seizures for about 2 weeks after she was born.
Okay.
And there was no medication combo that was really working.
Okay.
So they did try to put her on medication at
Yeah.
that point. Okay.
Yeah, so they tried a bunch of different medications. Finally found a combination that was working after 2 weeks.
Wow.
But the most bizarre thing that I still can't comprehend, and I don't think anybody will have an answer for, is she was only having seizures between 12 a.m. and 4 a.m.
Wow.
every single
And that's
night.
a short window, I feel like.
Yeah.
For something that severe.
Yeah. And they couldn't tell us why it was only between that time. We live outside of Belleville, and we drove up to Kingston every single day
Okay.
to see her. We'd be there at 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
We'd have lunch.
Yep.
See her.
Was she always consistently hooked up to an EEG?
No. She had an EEG hooked up for the first day, I believe. And then they were just monitoring her. She did have 2 24-hour EEGs with video monitoring as well. She had an MRI. She had spinal taps. She had multiple blood work. Nobody could really figure out what was going on with her.
So when was it that you finally received the diagnosis? And if you could label that for us. Yes, that. I would try, but I'm going to get it wrong.
How do you say it again, Tara?
Can you say it for us?
How do you say it?
No.
So we didn't find out her genetic diagnosis until 2 months after we were home from the NICU.
Wow,
So
okay.
she spent 33 days in the NICU. She got her G-tube placed. And then within a week after that, we were home.
Okay.
Had a nice little reunion with Amelia.
Of course.
My mom actually stayed at our house for that entire month to watch Amelia during the day.
Yeah.
How incredible.
it
Moms
was-
are great.
Yeah.
I never had another child at home when I was with Gwendolyn in hospital, but I know that feeling of you just, even though they're so fantastic, there was no rest time. It was, I feel guilty not being there.
Yeah.
It'd be really
Present,
hard for your
right.
daughter to
Yeah.
Yeah. It
have
was
that. separation.
And she definitely knew something was going on because she knew I was pregnant. She'd rub my belly and say baby sister, and
And all
she
of a sudden,
knew. And then
how old was she? 3?
she was 2.
2. Okay.
Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, but it was kind of like we were going to work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'd leave in the morning. She'd stay home. We'd come home around supper time. It was kind of like a work day.
You show up, do what you got to do. Come back,
and then
do it all over again.
We finally came home with Olivia, and she was just over the moon, so excited.
Yay!
Yeah. But they told us, the genetic team told us, that we may not know any genetic results for like 6 to 12 months if we were to even hear anything at all.
I'm going through that right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tough.
It is very tough. It's frustrating because you think, well, what do you mean? Like, this is such a huge field of work. Like, what? And they kind of more or less explained that, you know, there's sometimes for this genetic testing, there's only one person in this province or this country that can just run this one testing of these multiple things.
Yeah, and then to try and find like another one person maybe that has the same thing to match
it's
it
such a new world still, like what the way they were describing it to me. So you received this genetic result back, and what was
so she is missing a portion of a chromosome. It's called a microdeletion.
And what you describe that to me as?
So the whole like term is 15q11.2 microdeletion. So her 15th chromosome has, your chromosomes have like 2 different arms, I guess, like a short and a long arm.
Yes.
So the long arm is the Q, and there's a section on 11.2 of this Q arm that's missing.
Okay, for Olivia.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if somebody is missing like a 15th chromosome on that lower arm, it could either be Prader-Willi syndrome or Angelman syndrome, dependent on which parent passes it on.
Okay.
So
it's just crazy, like hearing about this stuff. Like science feels made up. Like,
really?
I'm like, what is
and
this?
to feel like, you know, like we're carrying around all of these different, you know, genetics
like
or
what we
mutations,
are,
and to not even know it for our whole lives, right?
Yeah.
That too.
And that's the thing with this condition. So it could be passed on from a parent, or it could be completely by chance.
Yes.
And that was the case with Olivia.
Okay.
So Victor and I
Did you guys
both
have
had
genetic? Yeah.
Yeah. I had to go through infection control testing because I could have had an infection that caused this.
That's a hard one, that one.
Yeah, really. So that was scary too, because they sat me in a room and they're like, "Did you do this, this, and this?" And I'm like,
you almost feel like
I felt dirty.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt the same, but I felt dirty.
The thing is, Owen lost his hearing because I had a common cold that like 98% of people have in their lifetime.
Way. And it just like picked up
because I had it like passed in utero for him.
No way.
Isn't that scary to think
That's
that you could?
insane.
And it's not like nobody. I never really knew until
They
mean,
didn't even
obviously
start
did the
testing for it until
Yeah.
2020 on the newborn screening.
Wow. And well, that was one thing that people keep asking me, like, how did you not know if you didn't, like, because we did the newborn screening, all the testing that they like recommend, and it was something so small that they don't test for.
Yep.
So that's how.
So it gets missed.
Yeah.
So you receive this diagnosis. What do you immediately think? What do you do following the diagnosis?
Well, he told me over the phone. I was actually at a midwife appointment because they were like angels and still wanted to follow up with us after everything. So even though I was past like the 6-week care, we still had appointments with them. And so I was actually in their office and he called me and said, these are the results.
What better timing? I mean, like, if
And
you were
that
to receive
support
something
around
like
you.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have Victor, and that would have been great for him to hear from somebody as well. But I was in their support too, which was really nice. Yeah.
So you receive this, and
then they're like, all right, we're going to schedule a meeting to go over everything fully.
Yeah.
They offered to do what's called like genome sequencing.
Okay.
And I don't really know fully what that is.
Yeah.
But I think it's just to process her genes more thoroughly and like to put it in a database to see if anything else comes up.
Yeah.
Nothing came back from that.
Okay.
So then it was just control, like figure out why she's having seizures. Well, it's because of this genetic condition.
Yeah. Okay.
What other things are going on? So they had to do a full blood workup. make sure her medications are still working.
Aligned with this, yes.
And if all the other tests came back negative or they couldn't find anything, then they would close our case and
For genetics.
and that was our answer. So yeah, but she was also diagnosed in the NICU with early infantile epileptic encephalopathy.
Wow.
Try to say that.
Yes.
Say it, Tamara.
Yeah.
No. No, but I've heard of, obviously, of both of those things.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that's, scary in itself as well.
So where the seizures weren't related to the genetic condition, you don't know.
They said both, because with the genetic condition, you can have seizures.
Right.
Yep.
But they're unsure. I still think.
How relevant?
Yeah.
Are is her seizures now being managed by medication?
Yeah. She had a couple of episodes just this past month where she's shown seizure activity, and that was the first time since we left the NICU that she's experienced anything.
Is she having like grand mal seizures?
I don't know the difference.
So like tonic clonic is like is she having like full body?
No.
Okay.
It's her eyes.
Focal seizures.
Yeah.
I have those.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you like feel them come on?
It's like an aura. Yeah. I see a neurologist and I am on lamotrigine.
She just found this out not too long ago either. Like, that's so
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. So it's like, for me, it's like, it comes on. So actually, when you said she only got them through the night, so a lot of the times I only get them through the night.
Really?
When I'm sleeping, and I'll wake up from them.
Wow.
And I'll wake up really, really sick, but it feels like I'm almost like having a dream or something. I don't know. But then the next day, I'll usually have one as well. If I've had one through the night, I'll usually have one during the day, and it feels like an aura. It feels like deja vu, really heavy. And like I kind of like zone out for a little bit. I lost my license for a bit too.
Yeah, I have one of my best friends, her husband has that too. So.
But there's been periods too that I've had them. Like I've been like sitting with Joe and I'll like talk, but I don't remember like talking, or and then when I come out of them, I don't remember what I was thinking about. It's weird.
That could be scary.
Yeah, they're really, really short, but yeah, they're really, really short. But that's why I'd asked about like the EEG and everything, because she could have like had, like the grand mal seizures through the night maybe, but had been having focal seizures through the day that they weren't picking up on.
Maybe, yeah.
Right?
Because, I mean...
I'm not a doctor or anything.
But I feel like that goes back to like you were walking around with this for how long?
I had been having them actually.
When you think back to it.
When I think back to it, I always thought I was having panic attacks. That's what I thought it was. I thought that I was having panic attacks, and so
symptoms.
Yeah, I didn't start having. I think I started having them when I was like maybe 17.
No way. And like you didn't pick up on that it could be a...
No, and then I didn't start going through like diagnosis or anything like that until maybe like 3 years ago. Because I was referred, because at first I thought I was having, like, they thought I had narcolepsy. I thought I was falling asleep because it felt like a dream kind of. So I saw a psychologist. I went to like sleep clinics. Now I have a neurologist, and yeah.
Well, at least you're getting the answers though, right? Like
yes
know.
And no.
Oh.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
It's small steps. Working with specialists, right?
So I can understand that like feeling of like zoning out. Like I can speak to that because I experienced that. I always usually, if I have them through the night, I'll get really, really sick after. Like I usually wake up like throwing up because like they're just really like violent through the night. Not so much during the day, but yeah, it's really weird. So it does sound though, obviously like they're controlled. Like if she's having partial seizures.
Yeah. When it first happened, when we brought her home.
Yeah.
We brought her home like end of June last year.
Yes.
Beginning of July, and that weekend we thought she was having one, so we called an ambulance because we were like, this is brand new to us.
Don't know.
Yeah, we have a 2-year-old then at home, but like this is a whole
It's better to
other
be safe
ballpark.
than sorry.
Yeah, so we called the ambulance and they are like, she may have had one. She's not doing it now. We can take her in the ambulance. We can leave you here. Like
they don't, they don't do much more beyond that too.
That's the hard part, right? Like, what is their...
And like we don't have like rescue medications at home either because her seizures were never like for a long period of time.
Right.
So they were just like, if she has one, take her to the hospital.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And what is if? Like that's always an if like that as a medical mom.
Yeah.
ifs are so
it's hard to
dominant in your
judge.
life, right? Or or could be's, or what's going on nows, and
When
that
to be
is so
cautious, when not to be
scary.
cautious,
Yeah.
right?
And you know, and I've never had a child that wasn't a medical baby, so I always say, like, when I have my next child, I don't know how the hell I'm gonna.
You're comparing
How
that
am I gonna
experience
raise
on the
them?
opposite end of how you would be comparing that as
Because
well.
I always watch monitors.
I also
always
got that
watch
too.
Different, different things to.
Because Luke talked really late, and then so I was like, "Oh, Owen's not talking. That's fine. He'll talk, but it's because he wasn't hearing." You know what I mean?
We're kind of going something kind of similar with Amelia too, because her ears are completely clogged.
Okay.
They said that she was partially deaf in one ear.
So she might need tubes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her speech is delayed as well, so we're going through speech therapy. And
Isn't it so much fun?
Yeah. So we're like,
It's a big commitment.
it very yeah, especially if you can't get in with like a funded speech therapist and paying it all out of pocket too.
Yeah.
And,
So you have a lot of different specialists following you.
yeah. I actually counted this the other day because I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Olivia has 20 people on her team.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Are
Who
you
are
at
the most-
Kingston always, or Hotel Du, or?
Hotel Du, Kingston sometimes if we have like a surgery or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
And our team back in Belleville.
Okay.
Who are the most frequent ones that you see, would you say?
Physio and
Physio's a big
OT.
one. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we see them bi-weekly.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. With Olivia's condition, she also has hypotonia, so she has very low muscle control.
Yes.
She's like no head or neck support, so we're constantly holding her.
Yes.
We just actually bought a stander for her, so she can actually
I
like.
was just gonna ask, does she have like a brace or anything
Yeah.
that like?
What
helps
did she
her-
think of that?
She loves it.
Oh,
Yeah, and like
good.
it sounds.
Of course she would, though.
Yeah, she's seeing the world in like a whole new
Perspective.
Yeah.
Way view.
Yeah, and she's getting more stretching in her muscles too with it because it's kind of like
Probably feels good for
pulling
her.
around. Yeah. It's so funny. People kind of look at me when I do this, but I hold her by like the armpits.
Yeah.
And just kind of like dance with her.
Yeah.
And it almost looks like she's like hunched a bit. Yeah. But she loves it.
That's
Gets
what
the
they do at
biggest
Cairo.
smile. Yeah.
Yeah.
They like take your legs and they'll like wiggle you on the table.
Yeah.
That's what she does to me. I hope that's normal, but and it
I
feels
think
really
so.
good. It feels
Yeah.
really good because your body is
would.
like loosening up and like
different
Yeah.
way.
moving. Tamara's never been to the chiropractor.
No, you were
It's-
telling me
it's
about
amazing.
it. And as you're talking about this, my neck is really hurting.
I was actually
So-
scared. I
He's not
started
hunchback.
seeing my chiropractor when I was pregnant with Olivia because I think with her positioning, I was so sore.
Oh, you
Yeah.
would be.
I went off work a month early. I started seeing a chiropractor, massage. I was a mess.
Yeah, you need to take care of your body.
Yeah.
And then had your surgery.
Yeah.
So she's had these two diagnoses. One of her symptoms is having the seizures that sound like they're somewhat controlled.
Yeah.
Obviously that can change at any point. Like I know for me, like mine could turn into tonic-clonic like grandma anytime.
yeah.
So like it's just like the medication managing, right?
Yeah, and we have to do like every 3 months we have to check her phenobarb levels because that's one of the medications she's on is phenobarbital.
Okay.
And it could really affect her liver.
Right.
So we have to go make sure she's not having too much of the medication
Yeah.
that it's affecting other organs.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we actually had to kind of take a pause on that because she's not really gaining a lot of weight right now.
Okay.
Right.
Because she pukes a lot.
Yeah, would that be because of the low tone?
I think it's two things. So she, with all the neurological stuff going on, she also developed something called Sandifer syndrome.
Oh, mama, that's a lot.
It's
Holy.
like this one.
Uh,
It's a lot of grieving in itself.
Yeah. Well, she was puking so much.
Yeah.
And a lot of it they said could be from the G-tube because
Right.
Yes.
G-tube babies or people receive a lot of acid reflux.
Yes.
So they're like,
Yeah.
maybe that's it.
Kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they found out she had a cow's milk allergy. She was puking up a lot of blood. It was all coming through her G-tube and her extension.
Oh,
So we
my
took her to the
gosh,
hospital.
PTSD, yes.
Yeah.
I had that too with
Yeah.
Gwen.
Yeah. It was crazy.
And the what ifs, right? Again, it's, well, it could be this or it could be that, or
Yeah.
if it's this, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah, she stayed in the hospital that September for about 8 days.
Yeah, just to kind of.
Yeah,
to
get
keep
all the
things-
blood to stop.
Yeah, was it dry? Like was it like coffee grounds?
It was
almost?
coffee grounds. It was coming out through her vomit and her stools,
that's a
and then
scary
through the
sight.
tube. So I'm not sure if Gwendolyn had this, but like now Olivia has a Mickey button.
Yes.
But before she had like a dangler.
Yes.
So we could see the fluid in that dangler.
Yes.
And there was blood all through that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once we switched her formula, the blood stopped.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Because it is a scary sight. Like this isn't a normal thing for this to happen, right?
Yeah.
so those are definitely something. I know when Gwendolyn first got her G-tube, that was something that I grieved.
Yeah.
You know, and then I soon learned, well, this is a quality of life, you know, just like hearing aids or, you know, for Owen or anything like that.
Because you have an expectation as a parent, especially with you as with having another child, you have laid down this expectation, and people are always, I remember with the boys, they're like, don't compare.
Yeah.
But you do.
But you do. It's normal. You're human.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's hard. Like, I'm hard on myself now because I have been comparing, but like, even with like typical kids, like they're always going to be different regardless.
Absolutely.
And I just have to like keep that in the back of my head. Like, even though Olivia does have this medical condition, she may have been different from her sister anyways.
100%.
So,
And I
100% they would
I was
have
talking
been.
to this mom the other day regarding, like, you know, grieving different milestones, grieving all this and diagnosis. And they said, you know, she's like, you know, getting the diagnosis is just the key.
Yeah.
It's the key to unlocking the door. Sure, there's things that correlate with that diagnosis through different people, but it doesn't define who your child is.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's
So,
so true.
I feel like
It's still really hard, though.
Yeah. I feel like it's one thing that,
Oh,
like,
I get mad all the time. I'm like, fuck this. Like, why is this happening to my child?
yeah, why me?
Yeah.
And I think I get hard on myself because I'm like, why us?
Yeah,
Like,
of
why
course.
my family?
Yeah.
It could be worse, but it could be better, I guess.
Your
It
life is
never let
completely
up
shifted.
for
Yeah.
you, though. And it was the same thing with Tamara, like just listening to you, like it was this, then it was this, then we had to deal with this, then we were back in the hospital.
It
And it was
never
the same
stopped,
thing with
yeah.
Tamara. Like, it was just like, it's, from my perspective, so draining for you and so tiring and so defeating that it's like, how can you move forward when you're just so like drowned by the day and all the things that you have to do and your commitments, and now you're dealing with, you know, managing 2 children and you know, yourself and your feelings. And obviously it sounds like you and your husband have an incredibly supportive relationship, so I'm sure you leaned on each other in that a lot, but it's still a lot to have on your shoulders and on your plate.
And I think a lot of people too, like maternity leave goes to the mom, right?
Yes.
And when we go through like this whole medical journey with Olivia, Victor was able to take a parent caregiver leave.
Oh, good.
So he actually went off work as well. So he was like right there beside us. Like,
That's so special that you got to
feels
go through it
too.
together.
Yeah, because it's not just my child; it's his as well.
Yeah.
Like
He's grieving for you guys. He's grieving for for Olivia.
And you don't have to do it alone. Like, I know you had to do so much alone because it was also like during COVID that it was just like, even like your mom or anything, everything like traveling, it was always by yourself. And
you really
that's
find out who your true self is after becoming, you know, into this new walk of life.
Yeah. I want to say true self and like true like relationships.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yes. That's relationships. Yes.
You find out like who's there for you,
Yes.
who gets scared,
Yeah.
who you
it
kind
sounds
of have
cliche
to like
too, right? But it's very true, even in parenthood in general.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you find your tribe and you stick with them and
Your
they
tribe
get
gets you by.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask you this. How would you say your life has changed since becoming a medical mom? You mentioned something earlier.
I did.
Not returning before we started that I thought you would talk about, you know, not being able to return to work.
Yes. So with Olivia's condition, she obviously needs extra support and extra care. We had planned on putting her in a daycare.
Absolutely.
As you would. With the support that she needs, there's a program called Enhanced Staffing or Enhanced Support.
Okay. Yeah.
Through our team in Belleville, you could only put your child in a licensed daycare or a center.
Same with Gwendolyn. Yeah.
So
with that extra support.
Yeah. So we had her on all the wait lists for all of these centers. We were hoping to get her into the same one her sister
Of
got.
course.
Like it would just, we had this plan.
Yeah.
And then we found out a month before my maternity leave was ending that the wait lists for these programs, I was supposed to return to work like 2 weeks ago, so middle of May. The first spot didn't have anybody for her until July. The other program didn't have somebody until October. So we were just kind of wondering what were we going to do. And then the next week or 2 weeks later, we found out that this enhanced staffing program is no more.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
So I guess from what I've heard, the government funds this program.
Yep.
And they've cut
They
the
feel
funding.
like it's not a necessity because
who
it's
needs this?
yeah.
Why should
everyone has typical pregnancies and
Yeah.
typical whatever the hell that is, children.
Yeah, so like they would fund the center to hire another person to train them on her condition, so she would have that one-on-one support.
And she deserves that.
They do have that,
deserve that
for Owen. It's called resource services.
Yeah, so she would have a resource consultant.
Yeah.
And then they would have, so we have a resource consultant, but she needs the funding from this enhanced staffing in order to come into the daycare to support her.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I have a million ideas I'll talk to you about after.
I love that.
Yeah.
I did find a company outside of London that does like the same thing.
Okay.
I just don't know if it's like
There's a lot of like mission groups
throughout.
and things like that as well, right? That will like Easter seals. I don't know if that would like apply, right? But there's like mission things. I
We're
have a
behind
card
you,
of
Mama.
somebody.
We are
I have a
behind
card
you.
of somebody that I can pass on.
that would be
Because
great.
I wonder if there's just like other sorts of funding that would still apply in.
because we have like we're signed up for all the
course
funding
you
we
are.
can.
Good.
Yeah.
A lot of it's income based too.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
when my income and Victor's income, like it disqualified us for some stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Us too.
Yeah, it's tricky.
It's
'Cause, like, you
not.
still
It's
need the
not much
care.
either.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was
Do you
ACSD over 65,000 for a household income.
Yeah.
Like that's not a lot in like this world. So
I
like
know.
we
And then on top of everything else, like
that
groceries,
you need, but you
Yeah.
need for her
bills.
quality of life too.
That
so they're
That's
like,
what
hey,
frustrates
you
me
can
the
make
most.
you can make
Yeah.
75,000 and then pay 10 grand out of pocket for this hearing aid device. So now you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
He needs
yeah,
to hear.
yeah.
Yeah,
I know. And
Do you have a social worker that helps
Yes.
you with
Yeah,
that?
that's
good.
part of our 20-person team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
who's your social
good.
worker?
Her name's Jocelyn. She's at the Children's Treatment Center. So that's where we do our physio, Amelia's hearing and speech stuff.
Oh, good. It's nice that it's
all
kind
the
of all
Belleville.
like where.
Yeah. Okay, I guess
Yeah.
you're Belleville.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, is it Sam?
Shout out,
Love you,
ladies.
Sam.
Yeah, we kind of talked about.
Well, I want to know, like, okay,
Yeah.
so what are her other symptoms? So she has some difficulty with her muscles,
Yes.
and she is having seizures managed right now. But what are her needs like?
So like constant support. We're always holding her. With the puking and the vomiting. She always had to be elevated at all
Okay.
times. So like we had to get crib wedges.
Yes.
I bet bedtime, sleep time scary for you guys.
100%.
Yeah.
I think because of the seizures
Yeah.
too, because they would only happen at night.
Right.
Victor and I made a joke that we would take like night shifts to watch her basically
Yeah.
when we first got home, and all the nurses were like, "Don't do that. Like
Yeah.
that's stupid.
That's why
she'll be
you don't ask for
fine."
so long.
Yeah.
So
It's easy for them to say.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So constant support with her feeding tube. You always have to keep her upright.
Absolutely.
Her muscle tone is like she's starting to move and get more active now, which is nice.
Yeah.
But she can't like sit on her own. She can't roll over. She's starting to smile and like try to
Aw.
laugh.
I love the
It's like the
pictures.
little things,
Yes.
It is.
right?
Those are little, like, again, we experience as medical parents different milestones
Yeah.
than other parents.
Yeah.
Because that smile would be a milestone for her.
Yeah.
Giggle.
Yeah.
Right? Things that we just expect to happen.
Yeah, or like should happen by a
Yes.
certain like
Yeah.
age, where she with her condition will be like globally or developmentally delayed.
Yes.
We have like speech and language issues.
Yep.
I throw that all out the window.
Yeah.
Because it's just too hard to compare.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we just said, like, and they always want to do your assessments and stuff too,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're due
That's
for
really
another
hard,
assessment.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to. Like,
Dreadful.
it's nice to see progress, but it feels so small sometimes.
Yeah, and I think where we have like so many people on our team, I felt like for a period of time I was constantly repeating, she can't do this.
Yes.
She can't
Yeah.
do this.
Yes.
And it hurts.
Yes,
Like
it does.
it hurts.
I remember
You should ask
saying
your
that.
social worker to CC everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have to.
Well, I made up a binder. Victor told me that it would be a
Yes.
good idea.
I had a
I
binder
actually
too.
started small, but we got
Yeah.
a 3-inch binder full of
Yeah.
all of her medical
Yeah.
stuff, like
Great.
our discharge paperwork
Because
from
you
the
don't
NICU,
need
like everything.
you don't need to keep reminding them.
It's
And
mentally
I
a lot on you.
remember,
Yeah.
like my social worker telling me this, my therapist when Gwendolyn was still alive. I said it was just such a trigger for me to have to start back at day one and tell them her story every time we're admitted. And she goes,
Yeah.
then don't tell them.
It's
Tell them to look
exhausting.
back at the records.
Yeah.
And there was one night that I did, and I said, this is ridiculous. Fucking look at the records.
Yeah.
I can't do this every time with you.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Yeah.
For taking that stand.
It is good because our team at Chio and our team at Hotel Dude, they don't even bother me. They email each other. So anytime we have an assessment there, they relay all that information back, which is nice.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm that type of like OCD where I need to know though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I would prefer, as much as I hate repeating it, I would prefer to be like, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
I know my
Just
child.
have some control.
It
Because
also
you don't
makes
have a
you
lot of control,
have
right?
understanding of what's going on in like a really foreign world
Yeah.
Yeah.
too.
Because it's like, I always say she's like telling her own story or like making up her own rules because like she is a mystery. With this deletion, like people could be in their 40s or 50s and just finding out that they have this micro deletion.
Yeah.
Right.
Or it could affect you so much that you're having seizures at birth.
Right.
Right. So
Wow,
How
so there's
rare
a
is
huge
it?
it's
spectrum then.
like it could be anything.
Yeah, how rare is it?
I looked this up before I came.
We're testing you.
There is 17,000 people worldwide
That
documented.
are on documented.
That's not a lot
That's just documented.
worldwide.
So there's probably
Yeah.
She's special.
She's
it's
cute.
hard, but she's special.
Yeah.
Aw.
And I mean, just I see your videos and I see your photos, and I've seen such a growth.
Oh my
since
gosh,
last
yeah.
year, you know. And I
Yeah.
feel for you when you get those admissions, but it's like, wow, Mama, like you're doing such a good
You're
job. and
doing
I
a
hope
great
you
job
know
as a
that.
mom.
Thank you.
I really do hope you know that.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit again about the medical parent side of things. Like, what would you say do and don'ts when, you know, if you have a medical mama as a friend or a family member, or, you know, just wanting to know, just curious about that.
I feel like just trying to be there
Yes.
for them. Like if you don't know their condition, like do the research
Yeah. Try to understand.
and understand it.
Yeah.
Like offer support anyway, like bring them a meal or
Yes.
like just do something kind.
Yeah.
Thoughtful.
Yeah, because we're going through a lot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just having
Yeah.
that sympathy is nice, right? Like, man, you know,
Yeah.
this really fucking sucks, and I feel for you.
Yeah.
I know my friends were always curious about, like, with Gwendolyn, and, well, why, I can try to feed her if you'd like with the G-tube, or just offering a little bit of support, like, well, let me help, because
She always said no.
I would always say no. Yes,
She's
I would
like,
always
we're
say-
like, can I hold her? She's like, honestly, Gwendolyn wouldn't come to any of us until she was like 2.
She's like, no, I want my mom.
Yeah, she
I
wanted
think
mama.
that was a special
Yeah.
bond, and you probably have that with Olivia, too. It's like,
Yeah.
you know them so much, you know.
You're the safe place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're your safe place. Like, as long as I have her in my view, I'm good.
The thing that I would like more of is like the support where like my friends or family to like ask to hold her.
Right.
Because I've had
Don't
like
be afraid.
exactly, like I've said this multiple times, she's not broken.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's what people get scared of because of her head control.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't know how to hold her.
Yeah.
They're afraid of hurting her.
It is fear,
Yeah.
for sure.
And,
Bring her
like,
over
even like
anytime.
people with
like
a new
just
baby.
take her. Like,
Yeah.
That's like with the one's hearing aid too. When his CI, it's magnet. So if it pops off, people panic and they don't know like what to do because people just aren't also educated on it, right? So
Yeah.
it's like a scary thing for people.
Yeah, and that's like with Olivia's G-tube
I was
too.
gonna
Like
say.
Yeah.
they're afraid. Like we usually keep her in sleepers because it's just
Yeah, it's
easier. But now like the warmer weather's coming, we're like doing outfits and stuff.
Aw.
So that's
Fun
fun.
stuff.
But people are afraid to like
Get
touch
them
it. They
caught.
don't want it. Yeah, exactly. To pull it out.
Yep. Yep.
Even.
That was a bit much. Sorry.
Wild
No,
hogs.
and even my friends would even say, like, it's funny going from Gwendolyn, holding Gwendolyn, and having to be aware of that to, like, a normal baby, and you're, like, kind of second-guessing yourself. We would do that a lot with Owen and Gwen because they were at the same age.
They were, yeah.
Around the same age, so you would transferring both of them.
Or you'd lift up Owen and be like, holy, he's heavy. Because Gwen was just like so tiny and light. So, sorry, I want to know this too.
Yeah, go ahead.
I keep kind of going, you're like, let's move forward. And I'm like, no,
No,
let's go back.
I just, Joey has a specific time and detail. I feel
No,
like
he's like, he just gave me
Where
a
is
30.
Joe?
He's
Joe's
on
not
a,
even
I think
here.
we're at about 40. I want to know, so like, she's doing physio.
Yeah.
She's doing, your other daughter's doing speech therapy. We assume that Olivia will have to, do all those things. But have the doctors talked to you about what her future looks like? Is her, like, have they set any expectations, like, about her movement, about all those other
That's a
things?
good question, Kate.
Yeah, so we've had like
That's a great question.
That's a great question. We've had like
follow her
multiple
story.
like answers with that.
Okay.
So when we were first admitted to the NICU, they told us at like a day old, she may not make it past the weekend. Like, prepare
Okay,
yourselves.
wow.
Yeah. Just because I don't think they knew kind
What
of
was
what
going
you were
on?
dealing
yeah,
with.
it was a lot. So we had to basically like make plans. Like, if we were home and through the night, if she had passed, like, what did we want them to do?
Right.
So that was
Awful.
terrifying. Yeah. And then before we left the NICU, or just after we left the NICU, when we got that infantile epileptic
Yes.
encephalopathy diagnosis, they said that kids with this, depending on how severe it is, may not make it to their second birthday. Wow. So then it was, okay, she may pass away at 3 days old. She may pass away at 2. So then it was kind of like, what did we do?
Then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we got the genetic diagnosis as well, which
Okay.
I think eased up a lot of the other symptoms
Yeah,
from
no.
the
Right.
prior diagnosis. So they said she may eventually walk. She may eventually do things like
Yep.
another child would. I don't know if she'll ever eat anything by mouth.
Okay.
Right.
We do see a nutritionist and a dietitian
Okay.
to try and do
Of
any
course you
sort
do.
of like suck
Stimulation.
training.
Yeah.
She hates anything in
Yeah.
her mouth.
Yep.
So we're
Which
working
she
on
would,
that.
and that's
Yeah.
a common G2
Yeah.
thing for children, right?
Yeah.
They
It's
don't
not
have
natural to her.
Yeah, she's like, and because with the genetic condition, she has a very high palate.
Okay.
So the roof of her mouth, like, you could like hook your finger and still not reach the top.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think that was another reason why she couldn't latch.
Yeah, of
because she couldn't feel it. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just like,
It's day by day.
yeah, we're just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
Putting her in the physio and the OT
Doing
stuff.
all that you
and
can
just,
right now,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Doing all
making her
that you can.
comfortable and happy, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
making sure that she's
Sometimes it's better to
good.
just not make a plan, to just not
Yeah.
have things in your mind, so you can just do it day by day.
Yeah.
Because then it doesn't feel
yeah.
so heavy.
Yeah.
I like what you said there, like, just make her, content, comfortable, happy,
Yeah.
because that's all we really want for our children, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just happiness and
Yeah.
contentness.
And I feel like we do have so much
Oh,
going
gosh.
on. Like, I don't want it to seem like she's like a medical kid and she needs to like have all
Yeah.
these appointments, and
yeah.
I
You
just
want
want
it
her
to
to
be a
have
kid.
like a typical
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she deserves it.
And I feel
Yeah.
like, in today's society, there's so many. It's unfortunate with the resources what happens with the cutbacks and stuff, but the accommodating and the modifying to her, that's what we need to do more of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And-
So like a big thing when we found out about the enhanced staffing was to write my MP and to
Yes.
write to the government and to make the phone calls,
Because
and
if you don't,
Yeah.
who will,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
yeah. It's tiring though, I will
Yes.
say. A part of me sometimes I'm like, why do I have to do this?
Yeah.
Like,
Because you're advocating
Advocating's tiring,
for your
yeah.
daughter, but you're advocating for not just your daughter.
Yeah.
Everyone, like, not everyone, but there's a lot of people that are in that boat too, that are going
Yeah.
through what you're going through, and that's tough.
Yeah.
Have you, obviously you've connected with Tamara, but have you connected with other like medical moms? Like, obviously this is very rare,
Yeah.
so you probably haven't been able to connect with anyone else, or
like, not like physically, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah.
I made that medical page
Yeah.
on my Instagram, just to try and get more supports, more knowledge, more education.
Mm-hmm.
And I've met and talked to a lot of other medical moms that way, but like worldwide, which I think is crazy.
yeah.
The stander that we just bought for Olivia, we picked it up in Peterborough, and the mom messaged me after. She's like, "You seem like a really sweet
Aw.
woman."
Oh,
Like,
I think I saw that on your Instagram. Did you put it on your Instagram or not
I
yet?
don't know.
Maybe it was someone
Maybe.
else's.
Yeah, so we've been messaging back and forth, like, so she's kind of close. And
Absolutely.
so,
It's nice to just have that comfort. Like, if you just want to vent, if you want to cry, if you
Yeah.
want to, like, celebrate the successes, right?
yeah, because people, like, they get it.
They get it.
Yeah.
That's
Going
just it. You
through
get
a
it.
struggle
Yeah.
that, because even like sitting here, I feel like I'm like, yeah, I can relate a little bit, or I can relate to some things, but
Yeah.
like not really. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like specifically, like if like I've related to like a lot of other moms that have like the CI surgeries or what, and I know like you guys are being able to relate on a level that I can understand, although I want to be supportive of you both, but with the G-tube and things like that. So each scenario is so different, and so it's nice to have supports, but it's nice to have people who actually are going through and dealing with the struggles and the difficulties and the successes that you guys are as well.
Yeah, because I think that's a huge thing. Like people say, "Oh, I'm so sorry for you."
And you think
I get it.
They're trying.
Yeah, and like it's sweet and like thanks, but like nobody will really understand what we've gone through. Unless like you've gone through it.
Nobody, and we've said this before, is nothing can compare you for the NICU or being a medical mom or having a child with different diagnoses until you're actually there.
Yeah, it's life changing.
So before we come to a close, I want you to tell us a little bit about your sweet gal.
Oh, gosh.
Besides like this, like we said, it's just a kind of a door opener, her diagnosis, but she's not that. So I would love to know.
She's fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she's so much
sassy.
fun. She is. I don't know where she gets it from. Definitely not me. But no, she's a lot of fun. Her and her sister are like best friends. We play peekaboo all the time.
Aww.
She's like a ball of joy.
Yeah. Well, she's smiling, laughing. What does she like to laugh at?
So we watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Of course.
Those super simple,
we love super simple. Carl's Car Wash. Have you guys watched Carl's Car Wash?
Finny the Shark.
Okay.
And we also like the Shaq ad that's on YouTube.
Okay.
So Shaq has I don't know. I don't really watch it too often, but she sees him come on the TV and just like brightens her face.
So funny.
It is the
We'll have to
funniest
send this to
thing.
him. Get some PR.
Hey Shaq.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about his teeth, and he smiles, and he's missing a tooth, and she's just like so she can't like fully laugh, but she'll sit there with
you can tell she's like enjoying it. That's so funny.
Yeah, she loves Shaq.
Kids are random, right?
It's the silliest things. Like I don't get it.
That's funny. I bet it's so nice for you to see your daughters have that bond together too.
And they'll forever have that bond, I bet.
Oh my gosh,
absolutely.
Yeah,
forever friends.
Besties.
And I feel like you'll have that advocate. You'll have more support as she gets older, her sister.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing that a lot with Amelia too. Like people are like, she is going to be so caring, so kind. Girlfriend's got an attitude too, but like when she wants to be
big sister,
very
she will totally
protective
step up.
100% helps around the house, push her little feeding pump around.
I love that.
Yeah, she'll wake up, food pump, and like start pushing it around the kitchen.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You've got extra hands now.
Exactly.
The more the merrier.
Yep.
Oh, that's so wonderful to hear.
Yeah, the girls are great.
Good.
And Victor's great. I couldn't do this without him.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you again for coming on and sharing your story with us.
Thanks,
Thank you.
I kind of rambled a little bit.
No.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
tip
we're
of the
going for
iceberg.
days and days.
Yeah.
If you want, can you just share your Instagram handle again for us?
You can catch us at Modern Medical Mama on Instagram.
Yes,
Perfect.
and they share a lot of hardships and successes and everything in between.
Yeah.
And I want to remind you guys also to like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you all for the support. Caitlin, would you like to add anything?
Nope.
A singer or anything? No.
Thanks
Joey?
for coming.
Thanks
for being here. It sounds like that you've been through a lot of difficulties, but you seem so positive and you seem so happy. And I know you're really emotional and nervous to like come on and like no tears. You didn't even need the tissue.
I think I teared a little bit, but it's still,
but it's good, and we
good to tell your story.
allow that on here too. We've had lots of tears.
We do a lot of
too.
everything on here.
But
I'm a
thank you
crier.
for coming.
Thank
I
you
can't
for
wait to
having
follow
me.
along your page more and feel like I know her now. Like she's like a celebrity.
We'll have to meet her next time.
Yeah, I'll bring her up.
Good.
Yeah.
Baby snuggles. Okay. Bye.